Hey guys, it is Tim and James with Tabletop Terrors, and we are joined today by Alan Barr, who is kickstarting yet another amazing product. How you doing today, Alan?
I'm great. How are you guys?
Pretty awesome, man.
Yeah, man.
Gearing up for the old Super Bowl here.
Heck yeah.
And we're gonna take you guys up to a little before kickoff, so give you something to do while you're making your crab dip over there. This is not the first time we've had Alan on here. Alan has kickstarted multiple projects, but the last one we talked about blew it out of the water, the Powder Mage Kickstarter. And it was incredible. And this one is going to be, I think, as good, maybe even better. But tell us a little bit about who you are and your experience with kickstarting tabletop RPG products.
Sure. So I'm Alan Barr. I used to run Gallant Night Games, but now I work for Nocturnal Media because they bought Gallant Night Games.
Pretty cool.
We've done two Kickstarters, Tiny Frontiers and Tiny Frontiers Mechas and Monsters. Both were delivered early to backers or on time. Mechas and Monsters is actually shipping. Delivery month was February. We started shipping about a week before February. So some people got it early, some are getting it on time. But that counts as like on time.
Yeah, that counts.
In Kickstarter time, that's like awesome.
Yeah.
We're not late.
Exactly.
So I'll take it. Yeah, so that's me. And then we're kickstarting Cold Shadows right now. We're 400 and change % funded, 21,000 and change. That's 16 stretch goals. So it's pretty great.
Yeah, that's incredible. When did the Kickstarter begin?
Tuesday.
So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and if you count Tuesday, in less than a week.
Yeah, funded completely.
You're
and
totally
just blowing me is you're just absolutely like plowing right through these stretch goals. Some
Right.
Really good stretch goals.
Yep.
So let me put you. Oh, go ahead.
No, I said going nuts is great.
Yeah.
Well, I was just going to say, let me put you on the spot.
Sure.
Why do you think this game is blown it out of the water so soon?
If I knew that answer, I would do it again. And do it on every game.
That's a good point. You're like, listen, that's the secret that everybody wants to.
I wish I knew.
I have some theories, which I'm happy to share.
Yeah, let's go over some theories.
First, personally, I never talk politics in my personal or professional life, but I think the current world political climate is at a place where a spy game about betrayal and deception feels a bit apropos, maybe.
Yeah, that's a really good point, actually.
And I would start with that.
Yeah.
But you see that two ways, right? Sometimes you see people go, "Oh, I have enough of this in my daily life. I don't want to buy a game
Yeah.
based on this because I'm tired of it." And sometimes people go, "Hey, you know what I should buy? That game."
And the other thing, I mean, I have no experience really, but I haven't heard of one previously. I'm sure there are probably hundreds of spy RPGs, but the idea is, for me, this is one that is now currently in my mind space, and I'm like, yeah, it sounds really cool. It's something I didn't know I wanted. So that's really awesome.
Yeah, it's definitely different. So there's a lot of great spy RPGs, and historically there's been some. I mean, the James Bond RPG was a thing in the 80s and early 90s. You had Top Secret from TSR back when they first were making Dungeons and Dragons. Spycraft in the D20 boom of the late 90s, early 2000s. But this is definitely a new spy RPG.
Yeah. So that sort of leads right into our next question. What would you say sets this apart from other RPGs, more specifically some of those spy RPGs that, I mean, generally, like I said, in my personal experience, don't come up very often?
Yeah, like what's the elevator pitch for this game? If you had 10 seconds with the person, like or longer, what's that elevator pitch of like, so this is why you need
building.
An RPG about open secrets, betrayal, and telling a cool narrative over anything else.
That sounds like super right up my alley.
I'm in.
Amazing. Yeah, exactly.
And that's been our big focus on the push is, so, and I'll get into that. We'll just go right into it right now. I'll explain how the mechanics support what I just said.
Please do.
I don't sound like I'm just making crap up. The mechanics support that kind of play because what they do is they put control in the player hand, or hands, as it were. So if we were to roll, and let's say I'm like, all right, I'm a player character, I'm Agent Allen, and I'm going to do this thing. I would roll, and if I succeed, I get to narrate the outcome. It's not the GM who says, "Okay, you succeeded, you jumped the fence." It's me who rolled, going, "I succeeded, I jumped the fence, but I tripped, causing myself to fall and allow myself to get captured by the enemy agents."
Oh, cool. All right, so the narrative rests in the dice rolls, rests in the player's hands or the game master's hands.
Right, whoever wins the roll. And so let's say
That's
I betray
really cool.
another player at the table. I can go, we roll, I win, I shoot at you, but I miss, and you shoot and kill me because that's narratively cool.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds
that's gonna say that's taking it all the way. I love it.
It's actually it's based on the excellent Blood and Honor RPG by John Wick Presents, which was a samurai tragedy RPG about samurai
Gotcha.
and serving their clan, and the clan being greater than the players. And so we've sort of taken that that aspect up to where we're having Cold Shadows, where you have an agency and a director and a division. And agents might come and go, but the plots and the plans and the actions linger for decades. The game is actually designed to be played over decades of in-game time. You could have each session be a year. You could have every 3 sessions be a year. You could do whatever you wanted in that regard.
So to that end, now I'm just personally curious about it. You mentioned sort of betraying other players. Is that for narrative's sake? Are there sort of running plots outside of what some people know? Or is there an easy way to explain how the intrigue works?
Yeah. So I pitched the game as a game of open secrets, which is derived from Blood and Honor. But the idea is, and I don't know how PG-13 we're allowed to be here, but the idea is that handing a sheaf of 5 pages of character backstory to the game master is a little self-fulfilling.
Sure.
I'm choosing my words carefully.
Yeah, no, okay, but we're on the same page.
We get you.
You know where I'm going with that. If you're
sure.
And the idea is anything interesting that should be used in your character's backstory is something the whole group should know, and everybody should be an adult enough to be able to tell a cool story with that.
Yeah.
I love that. I love the idea that, hey, we all know the information, because I have been so thankful for the gaming group that I'm in, because you can do that. And what happens is I know that he's on the run. So I can say, hey, I want to tie that into this thing that I was thinking. And then it, to me, creates this really cool interconnectivity between player plots that wouldn't be possible if we all had to read that 5 pages that none of us ever read.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. And the game is definitely built to do that.
I love that. And I love the idea that the Cold War being represented in the dice rolls, even in that, 2 things. The first thing is that competitive dice rolls of who gets to narrate.
Yeah.
I have skin in the game now. It's not just, okay, I roll. It's, okay, I want to be the one that gets to escape with these documents. Oh, I lost the roll. So now I'm at your mercy.
Exactly. But the idea, and I'll get into the cool part of that mechanic. The idea is the group should be interested in a compelling narrative about the agency, right?
Yeah.
The goal is to put skin in the agency, not the agent necessarily. You should be willing to say, I die, because that's a cool scene. That's a cool story.
Yeah.
And the way we actually do that is, so I don't have any, this is horrible. I don't have any D6s near me.
No, and that's the major mechanic of the game, right? Like there are these really cool, if you check out, there's a link right now. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can back this right now. And that's what we would love for you to do. We're going to back it, and hopefully going to run it at some point on our channel.
Yeah, this is very exciting. I'm super excited about this.
Well, if you end up running it, let me know. I might be willing to join in.
That would be great. That would be really cool. In fact, if you guys back it now and you are a part of it and you say, hey, then we can put you in the pool of players you might potentially pick from. If you don't have it, you can't play.
Yeah, it's going to be a little more difficult.
But the link to that is there, and you can see the wicked cool concept D6s that they have. They're like these really cool gray with red
which
crosshairs.
you get at one of the pledge levels.
Exactly.
And so you can get the Cold Shadows, dice.
So the D6s, though, let's pretend you have some there.
So let's say I am shooting an enemy, and I have a pool of 10 dice after everything that's been accumulated, all my character abilities, all that stuff. I get 10 D6s. To succeed, you have to either be the highest, or if it's not opposed, you just have to break 10.
Okay,
perfect.
So let's say I have 10 D6. I go, okay, well, the guy's running. He's not opposing me because he's a narrator character. What I'm going to do is I'm going to roll. I'm going to take my 10, and I'm going to go, this hand is the dice I am rolling. This remaining hand is my wagers. And so you roll. Let's say I succeed. Every dice I saved as a wager allows me to narrate an additional true fact about the scene that nobody can displace.
Oh my gosh.
Oh wow! So
But
it's
this
a
works.
gambling.
Yeah.
This works opposed. So if I shoot you and I win, I go, I have 4 wagers. You go, I also have 4. I lost, so I have to have that. So I only have 2 wagers. But I can go, I shoot you and kill you. And you can go, yes, but secretly I'm wearing a bulletproof vest, so I only take a rank 5 injury.
Oh, so it's a matter of keeping enough wagers to one up each other.
Sort of, yeah, depending on the situation. That is really, really, really
Oh,
cool.
that's
So,
cool.
like I said, that brings me a little bit back. So far, this is shaping up very much to be very different than a lot of RPGs I've played. So I'm kind of trying to wrap my head around it. Who writes the story for the campaign? You mentioned a narrator. I see stuff about narratorless play. How does that work?
The group, I mean, really more than another. You hear a lot about, oh, the players influence the campaign through their actions. That's true in every RPG. In this game, the players get to literally, the rules say the players say this, it's true. That's done.
Okay.
You better
So
choose your players wisely.
Definitely a game you want to play with the right kind of group.
Yeah. Oh,
Sure,
yeah.
sure, yeah.
Which is, to be fair, that's true of a lot of RPGs. But some RPGs you can get away with the experience with a less than stellar player. This game, if you got that guy who's going to spend the whole game making jokes about anatomy and stuff, you know,
Right. Oh God.
you might not be the right guy for this group.
Yeah.
Right. He's like,
Exactly.
I have 4 wagers that say, yeah.
Say a lot
Yeah.
of things.
And
What about
Four
One of
things
the-
that are true and nobody can contradict. So
right. And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh. The other thing that really struck me that I love the idea of is a session can be an in-game year. Because one of the things that I think a really good spy movie does get across, or a spy novel or anything, is the concept you mentioned before, which is the agency is bigger than the single agent.
Yeah.
Because so often in the office of, the 2 or 3 people heading the agency, it's like, it's like Jones fell in the field. And it's like, that's it. Jones did his duty. He got the papers as far as he could. And it's like agents are constantly dying. So I love that you could have a whole year go by and have 3 people die and then pick up in the next year when other things happen.
Yeah, because it makes sense that people would die. It's good that you're like, listen, don't get too attached to the character. Get more attached to the narrative and what your characters can do in it.
Right.
I think in this style, you'd have to do that. Otherwise, nobody would want their character to die or to kill. Yeah, it could create an awkward situation in an espionage game.
Right. Well, I always, when people ask me about it, I go, look, there's really 2 types of spy movies. You have the action genre, the Mission Impossibles, the James Bonds, and there's a lot of great RPGs that cater to that.
Yeah.
This game caters to the talky spy movies, the
Yeah.
ones like Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy,
Yep.
right?
Yes.
The Night Manager,
Yep.
3 Days of the Condor.
Yep. Bridge of Spies.
Yep, the Third Man, where the action and tension comes from the conversations and the
Exactly.
implied threat of action, and that's what this game should be.
Right.
Yeah.
And
An
never
RPG.
knowing if you're in danger and if that person does know and what they know.
Yep, the implied threat of violence in this game is actually super lethal. If you get shot with the silenced weapon, you die. That's a rule.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay. So,
Don't get shot.
If you draw down, violence is fast, it's staccato, and it's over. Like,
I
this
feel
game
like
Does
Yeah.
violence.
based on what you're saying, it seems a lot like this game is very narrative, but not as a cop-out. Some games are narrative, and they, in my mind, they're like, you got to make all the stuff up. But in this game, it's like, listen, it's narrative, but we have very specific rules about things like the being shot or,
Right.
your wagers and things. And I think that it is a really cool way to do a narrative game because there are rules on the narration, if that makes sense. And I think
Right.
that is super cool.
The rules in this game are a framework for encouraging you to tell stories in the same way as the group. They're not rules about how to play the game. They're rules about how to tell a story.
There are rules to keep everyone on the same page so that you don't have
Right.
those people that are, running off with it. You're like, no, we are still operating within the bounds of something.
Exactly.
So I think it's a good time to maybe go through the pledge levels to see, to tell us about what exactly you get at what levels and what some of those things are.
Yeah, and one of the things I want to say too is if you are watching this live, we got a nice handful of people. Feel free to jump in and do questions. We do have the chat pulled up in the side there, and we'll also take questions if you have specific ones before you pledge. Alan's here to answer. So
Like, yeah, I'll answer anything you got. Within reason. I mean,
within reason. Are you working for the Russians? No.
I'm gonna walk that back before I commit too hard to that.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's reasonable.
So yeah, walk us through the pledge levels. If we want to pledge right now, what do we do?
Yeah, so Gallant Knight Games is an imprint of Nocturnal Media. And when I founded Gallant Knight Games, I operated on a couple key principles, which was affordable games that were works of art. And that's what I've attempted to deliver here. So keep that in mind as we go through this. Also, I try to make it as easy as possible for me to run the project and not be late.
Sure.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yes. So you might be like, why can't I do this thing? And I go, that's too hard for me. I don't want to deal with that. So
I wish a lot of Kickstarters should say those words you just said.
I am very willing to say, nope, I know what I can and cannot do. That is in the cannot do category.
Yep. Knowing your boundaries is why your Kickstarters are on time.
Yep. I haven't been late yet. So digital operative, $10. You get both core PDFs. You get the Cold Shadows rules PDF, and you get the Black Book PDF, which is a PDF of NPCs, adventure hooks, and competing agencies and cities and stuff.
Okay, so more story stuff, less rules, and more like, hey, if you're looking for ideas and you want to just run it, that's what the Black Book is.
Think of it as a book of pre-gens for the narrator to use.
Very cool.
You want to know what the Mossad is like? That'll be in there.
Yeah.
That's a cool thing. Yeah, that's really cool to run whatever you want to run right out of the gate.
Yep, and the game isn't set in the Cold War. Like, we call it a Cold War inspired because that's the feel we want, right? The feeling of we don't know what's around the next corner, of shadows around every street. But it can be used to tell stories in the modern time if you want. There are no rules that say this is Cold War only.
Okay,
So,
yeah, and that's really cool. Basically, it could be transplanted just about anywhere within reason, because you mentioned certain things about guns and stuff, but really you could use this idea of these agencies and stuff in just about anything with a little bit of tweaking.
From
get that same
World
really
War
cool
II
effect.
down to modern day. You can go all the way from World War II down to modern day. So
Super cool.
Really clever.
Then we have the $20 pledge, which is the core book and all the PDFs. Just book PDFs done, $20.
Yeah, so you're talking print book, basically. Like you get the print book in the mail, but you also get those two PDFs you talked about. Gotcha.
Yep. Go ahead.
Sorry, the core book, you get the print book. Does the Black Book come in print, or is that only ever a PDF?
The Black Book is in print as a special bonus for some of the higher levels. So
gotcha. Okay, we're getting there. I'm skipping ahead. That's my fault.
Nope, you're good. Good question. And that's deliberate. You'll see why. The Tinker Tailor Backer Spy pledge level, because I love that name.
I love that name.
Yeah, that's good.
It's so good.
You get the softcover core book. You get 10 dice. You get 15 trust tokens, which is a game mechanic, and you get all the PDFs, including any stretch goal PDFs. Everything will be there.
That's awesome.
$65 is the secret operative. You get a deluxe faux leather hardcover. You get a copy of the softcover. So you have a nice copy and then a table copy.
Yeah.
You get 10 dice, 15 trust tokens, all the PDFs, and all physical stretch goals. So we've unlocked, I don't know if anybody's into RPG history, back in the day, one of the first White Wolf products, I think it was the first. My boss will correct me because he would know. They was the Whimsy cards, which were cards you would give players that they could play to tweak the story.
Oh, cool. Okay, yeah.
Really
And those got a resurgence. So my boss Stuart was one of the original founders of White Wolf. The guy who owns Nocturnal Media was one of the three founders of White Wolf.
Oh, excellent.
Or two, or however that shook out. Him and his brother founded White Wolf. Might have been somebody else involved. I honestly don't remember. I might be wrong. So he released Whimsy cards again this last year or so. 20 years later or whatever it is. And he has new cards called Story Path cards. Same kind of basic idea, but they've expanded them into multiple decks. And so these are the Path of Cold Shadows Story Path cards.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Everybody gets them on PDF. They're tarot-sized cards that you just hand a player one at the start of the session, and they can play it to twist the story. And some of them might be like, you escaped from a dangerous situation, or surprise, you had the files all along.
Exactly. So it's something that isn't quite, it's one more little sort of turn where, somebody says they shoot you, but you play your get out of jail free. Right. Oh, no, sorry, I escaped from a dangerous situation, no matter what the wagers say. That's really cool. Awesome.
And we've unlocked, they were not a thing, and we've unlocked all 18 through the campaign already. So everybody will get all 18 in digital. The secret operative and above gets it in physical.
Sweet.
Oh, that's so cool.
And there'll be 18 tarot-sized cards, all the PDFs. And then we have the backer equality level, which is our super deluxe level. So you get the hardcover, you get the soft cover, you get a handmade dice bag, which you can see on the Kickstarter, and it will hold the core book, the dice, and the tokens and everything. You should be able to carry your whole game
in the
that bag. Yeah.
Oh, cool. That's awesome.
I need to give you guys a copy. Hang on. Actually, I'll show you. One second.
Dude, that's awesome. So now's a good time to tell everybody, if you are really thinking about backing this, if you want to play it with us on the channel at some point, we believe in what Alan does because he delivers stuff early, and so far all of the stuff we've seen from him has been good quality.
Yeah.
We wouldn't just do this for anybody.
Yeah. And just real quick, because Joshua mentioned he asked for a quick synopsis just of this for anybody to.
Oh, sure. Yeah, that's a great thing.
Cold Shadows is a Cold War-inspired RPG with rules for running an agency that has what are called agents that sort of run missions and do other things to.
Exactly.
Basically, it's a
espionage game,
type
narrative heavy, with a lot of cool rolling of D6s to resolve certain things. But the focus is narrative and building story and telling cool, intense, spy yarns.
Yeah, with a lot of suspense and trust, breaking of trust, and different things to sort of derail and change the story, which I think is going to make it really interesting.
Absolutely. So if you just tuned in, that's what we're doing. We totally believe in what Alan does. Like I said, we wouldn't just have anybody on here. You notice we don't talk about many Kickstarters. We only talk about Kickstarters that we would back ourselves and that we trust for you to back. So yeah,
and it's already funded. So I mean, there's no downside here. Basically, you're getting the book if you.
But check it out now. If you're at YouTube, go to the link right down here in the description of the video, and you can back it for that lowest quality or higher if you can afford it.
Yeah, and I would point out the book's actually done.
Oh, that is another very important thing about the Kickstarter that he mentions. Is it's written. They're just unlocking stretch goals and getting bonus things, but basically there's very low risk. Some Kickstarters where they're not finished or it's not funded. None of those problems here, basically.
Yep. So
Awesome.
let me explain what we're going on here. So, all right. So this is the prototype stuff. Let me lower that. All right. So. Bag.
Oh, that's cool.
That is bigger than I expected.
Yeah, that's cool.
Cold Shadows books.
Oh, those are glossy. That looks good.
Yeah, these are just prototypes, obviously. The book will be much thicker than this.
Oh, right, because all those stretch goals. I think it's going to be a phone book of spies.
Well, actually, and I'll explain what we're going to do with that in a minute. You got the dice. Where's the... I'll slide that closer.
Those are so cool.
I love that.
Those are so cool.
So, and then the trust tokens.
Oh, those are bigger than I expected too.
Yeah, they're larger. They're about a half dollar coin size.
Oh, yeah, that's cool.
So anyway, 15 trust tokens, 10 dice, and the core book will fit in this bag easy.
Yeah, so you can basically take it wherever you go and have everything you need for everyone to play.
Like a real spy.
Like a real spy.
Yep. One of the goals is I love games that are portable. So,
dude, I'm going to start calling that. This isn't official, but I'm going to call that my spy go bag.
Spy go
Done.
bag.
That's my go bag.
So, for example, the past Kickstarter, this is Mechas and Monsters, which is delivering right now to backers. This is my copy. So this is the bag. You will see the hardcover and the soft cover, plus the GM screen, and the dice for the game, plus an extra set for a player who forgot theirs, are all in my bag.
Oh, that's cool.
And it's a 180-page book. And there's two of them in here. Yeah. One is which hardcover. And these are handmade. We make these by hand.
That's quality.
Yeah, that's really cool.
That's so really cool. That's what you get for the $100 one, but the Cold Shadows variant.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
And so I like the faux leather cover.
Yep, they're nice.
For that, like you said, I immediately was right there with you when you said a table copy for people to spill Fanta on.
And flip through and borrow and never bring back.
Right, and to rip and dog ear, and my daughter gets a hold of it. And then there's that one that sits on my shelf for when I want to read.
When you want to read it, when you're just flipping through to get ideas and stuff. Yeah.
I'm a collector at heart, so that shows in my Kickstarters. I like to have collectibles.
That's
so that brings us was there anything else about the stretch goal, or sorry, the pledge levels? Because I had another question.
The secret operative and the backer quality will get the black book and physical. It's the only one.
Oh,
that gets
yeah,
the
you
black
mentioned
book and
that was the
physical.
other
That
yeah.
is the black book in print. Gotcha. Awesome.
That is the only one that does that.
So the trust tokens, I wanted to hear a little bit more about those. If you can give us a rundown of how those fit into this game we've been talking
Sure.
about so far.
So when you create your characters, you have to specify who your bonds of trust are inside the
Okay.
group. There are people you trust more than others.
Cool.
And there's some guys who have less trust. Like, for example, if somebody's playing the Internal Affairs agent, whose job is to investigate the spies, nobody likes that guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
Super
that's
He
clever.
doesn't get bonds of trust.
That's really clever.
Because everybody's like, you're probably investigating me. I don't like you.
Exactly.
And so bonds of trust is a mechanic we created that helps you know who you trust, and people can violate your trust. And every time they do, you have to check a betrayal box, and eventually trust can be burned.
Oh, that's so
And if-
cool.
and-
That's cool.
And if it's burned, it's a role-playing incentive to push you to kind of get them back.
Yeah.
Very specific, and you don't try to kill them, but you definitely will go out of your way to maybe report an indiscretion to a supervisor, or
Yeah,
you
you know
make sure
something
they
about
missed a
them.
drop or something. Nothing damaging, but you go out of your way to kind of make their life miserable. And once you do that, you can rebuild the trust. But you can't rebuild the trust till you get even.
And again, just to interject, I love that a lot of those things that really good role players or veterans of the system, when that's a thing that exists, would fit them into games because you've made them mechanics. Everybody gets that level of really clever gaming. You know, you could do espionage in any game. You could play D&D 5th
Right.
edition,
Right.
but you miss out on really cool things like that you've quantified with mechanics that is going to make it feel, I think, a lot more intense.
Sure.
Whereas some people could miss out on that if they didn't have that.
Yeah. So trust tokens are a thing that you count up how strong all the trust is between the group at the start of every session, and you put the trust tokens in a pot. And you can spend them to do things. Like you can spend them for bonus dice. You can spend them to negate a killing blow against yourself. But that requires exercising trust in your team to get you out. So by using trust for bonuses, you're expending the goodwill you've built with your group a little bit.
Yeah.
And trust doesn't reset every session. At the start of the campaign, you put your trust, and if you blow it all in the first session, you start the next session with none.
And that, oh man, that's.
And the
so
only way to get more
interesting.
trust is to like burn covers or burn your own cover or sacrifice yourself for a teammate.
Yeah, basically some sort of negative that helps your team somehow or is
Right.
detrimental to you
Right.
to build that trust. So
Right.
it seems like an economy that's very easy to spend but very difficult to get back. So
Definitely.
You have to be very careful about it.
And we have an optional set of rules around betrayal where you can get betrayal points that the GM can spend. So if the group betrays each other too much, the GM gets a special currency he can use to mess with you.
That's really cool.
Yeah, that there's just
Exploiting
it's
the
really
holes
amazing.
in the group, things like that.
Yeah, I love the idea that it will feel like both narratively and at the table like a spy game. Again, not necessarily like you're role playing a spy game, but like no, like really, you're making decisions with the wagers and the lies and the secrets. There are both mechanical secrets and narrative secrets, and that's just I can't wait to play this game, man. It's gonna be
It's-
awesome.
I'm glad to hear that. It's a lot of fun to build. It was a lot of fun to build, a lot of fun to play test. We have a great team. I'm super excited.
That is really awesome. So I guess now's a good time to talk about some of the stretch goals. I mean, you guys are, I think, nearly halfway through
Yeah,
the
you
list.
blew it
that I
out of the
saw.
water.
Yeah,
way more than halfway. There's
crazy.
a ton. Yeah, I know. I was only looking at the second image.
Yeah, you had to make a whole new image.
Yeah.
I know it. Yeah, that was it.
So I suppose there's a ton. I guess we don't really have to go over all of them, but like, what are some of the stretch goals that you were really happy to meet, and
Yeah.
what are some that you're really excited to get?
So right now we've been alternating between the story path cards, the Path of Cold Shadows, and the cities. And what we're doing is we're creating little, roughly 6 to 10 page chapters for each city.
Okay.
By people who've lived there. Everybody who's writing the city has lived there or studied there or been there. Like these people are
Wow,
people
that's
who
awesome.
have firsthand knowledge. I think there might be one or two where that's not the case, right? But for the most part, we've recruited natives.
Yeah,
That's
that's
really
really,
cool.
cool.
The gentleman who's writing our chapters on Paris and Vienna was born in Paris, lives in Vienna, and his PhD thesis was on Cold War espionage.
So it's like, yeah, it doesn't get any more perfect
I
than
was
that.
gonna say
That's awesome.
he's the guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but we're bringing that. Like my co-writer Ben has been through Checkpoint Charlie. He lived in some of the former Soviet reclaimed territory when he was a child.
That's crazy.
So it's just going to be
dude-
rife with that sort of
Oh, yeah.
real world theme and tone that this game should have.
Yeah, it's everybody is a native or knows or has deep experience, and we're bringing that knowledge to bear. So we're adding these cities. They'll have adventure hooks. They'll have like, here's some of the common tropes you see that are accurate. Some of the common tropes that aren't accurate. Not every street in Paris has a bunch of cafes, right?
Yeah.
Like, but you know, murders do happen at or whatever. So
Yeah.
we're definitely leveraging everything we got for those chapters. And then the story path cards have been the other one. We've basically been alternating between these two things. And the reason why is chapters like that, because we divvy them out to so many different writers, they're really easy to write. They don't hit my timeline. They don't make me late.
Exactly. You're both. They're relatively short. They're about something they know, and they're being sort of shopped out to so many different people in these different places that, like you said, it minutely, if at all, affects the timeline or anything.
And we have backup writers for every single one. So
awesome. Yeah, that's just exactly. It's just sort of a testament to you not excited. You so far haven't been late and don't plan on doing it anytime soon.
I don't like late.
Yeah, that's fair. No, that's a good way to operate.
Yeah, so it's funny you mentioned the two images because my highest funded Kickstarter prior to this was Mechas and Monsters, which broke 13,000 for a project I ran myself. We hit that in 18 hours.
Oh wow!
And so I was like, I'm out of stretch goal graphics.
Yeah, you're like that. You hit the
I
end
go to
of the
my
stretch
graphic
goal.
and I'm like, hey, I need something that goes to 25, and I have to go back to today and be like, hey, so I'm gonna need more.
Yeah, you're like, listen, let's just keep this train rolling. That's awesome. That's so cool.
But so up through 25 is the cities and the story path cards. After that, it gets interesting. So we're gonna jump. So we go from 25 to 30. There's a $5,000 gap. But the stretch goal, and this is the first time anybody's hearing this who hasn't worked with me on this project. So spoilers.
Awesome.
Will be to convert the trust tokens into metal tokens for everybody free of charge.
That is so awesome. That's an amazing stretch goal. Yeah.
That's a really good practical stretch goal.
Yeah.
It's not like you get a spy glowing shot glass that we found on tchotchkes.com.
You get a cold war bottle opener. I'm like, wait a minute.
So hold on, this doesn't help me.
And then the 35,000 tentatively at this point is we'll split the cities into their own separate book free of charge and give it to everybody. So you'll have the core rule book, the city book, and the black book if you get that.
See, and
so you get 3 books.
Exactly. Again, another really good example of a stretch goal that's not like, all right, guys, we're going to write a whole brand new thing. You're like, no, we're going to split it up so that everybody gets it and that it's its own book, it's fleshed out. And because by that point, you'll have a ton of them. I mean, you already have a bunch, but you're blowing right through them. That is awesome.
And beyond that, there's more like 40,000. We might get a New York Times bestselling author to co-write a series of adventures with me. Who knows?
Okay, yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
I'm not spoiling anything.
And that's the thing.
That might be a thing.
Yeah. 25 days to go. You guys are at 21,000 based on what I'm looking at. So yeah, it sounds like that's a very real proposition.
Yes. And to me, that is not like, oh, well, it's already backed. That is like, get in on this bandwagon.
Exactly.
Like, this is the time to jump on the bandwagon.
Exactly.
So, again, I think we will certainly, when this delivers, when is this supposed to deliver? I should probably know that, but when is it
for the people?
Yeah.
October. Okay, awesome. Yeah.
So if you're interested, we will definitely be running this on our channel. And I would say if you have a copy of it.
In October if you want to. Just, I know a guy who has all the rules, so I might be able to help you.
That's actually not a bad point.
That is a good point because I'm excited to play. So I'll happily be like, yeah, in order to, further the Kickstarter, maybe if we could get our hands on the rules, we'll run it for some people. No.
Check your email after the.
Yeah. But that is, really amazing. Definitely going to back it.
I see a question I want to answer in the comments, actually.
Yeah,
hit it up.
So Joshua asked, will the honorable bundle be available again or no? The answer is no. That was limited to 100 because we participated in Kickstarter's Make 100 initiative, where you make 100 of something unique.
Oh, okay.
And so the honorable operative has a unique thing that nobody else can get. It's a director. It's a packet of prop communiques written by me that will have adventure seeds. So you could hand it to a player and it would spawn adventure seeds because they'd be like, oh, I'm going to act on this information. They also will just make a great prop saying, here's a missive from the director of your organization.
That's cool.
That is really amazing. That's
and those will be printed and delivered as part of the honorable operative. The backer of quality has everything the honorable operative has, minus those communiques.
Yeah, so like you said, that was just a part of a separate thing that you're doing along with Kickstarter,
Right.
where it comes with something unique. Which, so sadly, yeah, those sold out real fast. I didn't even know about them. Well, I did because, but still, most people wouldn't have known about them.
Yeah. So unfortunately, no, they won't be available again. But you're only missing out on one thing. And I promise you, the stretch goals we're going to unlock will be worth it if you do get the $100 level. Additionally, I am also throwing a bunch of special spy goodies in the $100 levels. So there is stuff that you will get on there that is not listed on the Kickstarter.
Gotcha. Another really cool way to make me, if I back this and get that and really cool stuff, I'm like, listen, whatever this guy does, I'm jumping on. Both because it excites me and because I know that it will be on time or early and I got cool stuff.
Yeah.
And if it's not on time, you'll know as soon as I know. I don't believe in holding back that information.
Right. Which is also another thing that, sidebar, I don't understand why people who have late Kickstarters feel that if they hide, it's the right choice.
Yeah, it's just, I imagine it's just fear.
I understand why. Like, if we're being honest, I understand why. It's scary and it's hard to admit you've lost control or failure, or even, if we're just delayed.
Yeah.
Right.
Right? It's hard, and I can totally understand and empathize with people who are in that position. That's why I work so hard not to put myself in that position, because I don't want to be the guy who has to make that choice.
Sure.
No, and that's fair.
And I will say that is actually good. I should probably be a little more empathetic. And I will say, if you're listening to this and you're thinking of running a Kickstarter, Alan is very good at what he does. And he's also, am I allowed to plug this part of what you do, or?
Go nuts.
So if you're looking to hire him to help you with your Kickstarter, he also does that. We can put you in touch with him because he knows what he's doing. He's actually helped us quite a bit starting the gears going for our campaign guide, and very reasonable as far as scheduling. He answers quickly and his rates are fair. So I want to plug you and say, Cold Shadows aside, if you're looking to start a Kickstarter, Alan can help you and you can advise with him.
Yeah, because part of the reason, even if you have like us, we have distribution, we've shipped books before, we've shipped products. Kickstarter is a whole new animal. Mm-hmm. And it's like Kickstarter for some people is the reason that they have to tell people they're going to be late because they didn't expect a specific volume or this or that, or stretch goals maybe were a little too, a little too big, or a lot of different things can happen even if you're already good at the rest. And
those gotchas.
Exactly.
And Alan is really good at identifying a gotcha before it gets you. So I just want to throw that plug in for you, man.
So basically I imagine we've got a few more questions, but last time we didn't have that many questions from people. So I will say now that if you're interested in asking Alan or us, but mostly Alan, any questions about this Kickstarter or possibly something else, put them in the chat now. We'll, take a look at them. We'll sort of gather those, but we will also move on. But I wanted to do that so that we might get some questions before we're sitting here waiting.
Absolutely. We already have at least a few people in the chat who are like, yeah, I'm going to back this right now. And
I've ticked up $100 since we started this. So
that's awesome.
I'll take it.
Yeah, man, awesome.
So I would say finally, what's the thing that has excited you most about working on this particular project? It's tough.
Two things. I'm going to give you two answers to that question.
Fair enough. That's fair.
One is the genre. I love this genre. I have for years. John le Carré is a favorite novelist of mine. I read his books regularly, have for the past 15 years of my life. So it's a genre near and dear to my personal enjoyment. And a genre I've always wanted to play on the tabletop.
That's awesome.
Second is the team I get to work with. I would be remiss if I didn't plug the sheer amount of talent we have on this team. Ben Warner, who's one of my co-writers, wrote World of Dew, which is a fantastic noir samurai RPG using the same mechanics we're playing with here, but with a samurai bent. He's got a discount on all this stuff right now as part of Cold Shadows, actually. So if you go grab his stuff on drive-thru, it's discounted.
What's the best thing to search? His name?
Or World of Dew, the game.
It's spelled Dew, D-U-E?
D-U-E, like Dewdrop.
Yep.
Okay, D-E-W.
D-W.
Gotcha. So go search World.
D-E-W.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yep. I didn't know if it was like Dew's like Dew on a Dew to me.
Like it's D-E-W, like a Dewdrop.
Gotcha.
We have Liz Chypratikul, who has a Kickstarter running right now called The Monster as part of the Make 100. She's fantastic.
Oh, that's awesome.
She's worked on every project I've done under Gallant Knight Games. which tells you something about the quality of work she does. If I've had her 3 projects in a row.
Excellent.
And she's writing some exciting chapters for us, especially about we have her do. She volunteered, asked if she could do a chapter about women in the Cold War and spy fiction.
Awesome.
And how to avoid common tropes or subvert those, or what that looks like. So,
yeah,
very good
that's
idea.
A really
very
good
idea.
Very good idea.
Yeah, she's fantastic. We have Toby Abed, who wrote my single favorite RPG of last year, A Single Moment, which is a 2-player samurai RPG where one player will die at the end, and the game is played in flashbacks, talking about when you're walking up to a duel.
Oh, wow.
That is so cool. Holy crap.
I know. You know all the cool RPGs that I don't know about. No, scratch that. You make them.
Toby's fantastic, and he's the one who wrote our 2-player rules for this game and our GM-less rules.
Okay, yeah.
So he brought that level of amazingness. If you don't have a single moment, get it. You will not regret it.
That sounds tasty. Sounds amazing.
Any of the games made by these people I've named is fantastic. But we have way more. We have John Kennedy, who's worked with me before. He's done work for a lot of people. I know he's on the Star Trek RPG that's coming out from Modifius. We have Ryan Schoon, who does Adara. He did Fragged Empire. We have Wendy Reichel, who does stuff for the Protocol game line and worked with Post-World Games. We have Miguel Espinoza, who lives in Mexico City and is writing about Mexico City for us. And I haven't named so many people who are working with us. And that's not because they're not amazing, but it's because we have so many amazing people.
Yeah.
If I named them all, we'd be here for another 10 minutes.
We'd be here to kick off.
But it's fantastic. And there's so much talent on this team. And that's probably the really exciting thing.
That's cool. Really cool. And I can relate with that. We're part of Absolute Tabletop, an indie publisher. And having we're only a 4-man team, but having the 4 of us and being able to just come up with these crazy ideas and then have them grow into workable, playable things because of the talent that surrounds you. Like your half-baked idea turns into this wonderful thing at the end. So I can totally understand that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I pitched this idea to Ben at Gen Con this year. And we're already on Kickstarter.
Awesome. That is really awesome. Yeah,
well done. Very cool.
Yeah. It sort of just ballooned and became the next project on accident.
Oh, yeah. I love
We actually had a different timeline, and I was like, I need to get this out of my system.
Yeah,
where it's
gotta do this now.
It's the thing that's inspiring you. That's always tricky because, like I said, we're a 4-man team. So if we have another deadline where it's like looming, it's like 6 weeks away is the writing deadline for Be a Better Campaign Master 2. But it's like, I have this really cool idea for a board game, and I have to at least write the basics while I'm still remembering it all. So it's cool that this became the next project.
Yeah. So we don't have many questions so far. I've only seen one, and we're just going to pretend that is because we're really good at interviewing.
I think
really
that's what it is.
Questions.
And there's a huge Q&A section at the bottom of the Kickstarter page that answers all of the things that would probably make you pause for a second and say, well, wait, what if? All the answers are there.
Yes, but there is another really good one from Joshua who seems really interested in this, which is great. So he asks, how would this game run to first-time RPG players? Like, what is your opinion of if you haven't had people that played RPGs much and they want to back this, what do you have to say to them, or how do you think that would go?
So, totally playable.
Tall order.
No. Totally playable. The mechanics aren't hard to understand. The trick is getting everybody in the right mindset of story before character. Yeah. In a sense, right? Of the overarching narrative matters more than your individual, and that can be hard. That's an adjustment, even for experienced role players, right? That can be a hard shift. So I think you're going to have the same struggles any group does coming into this game. I definitely don't think it's unplayable. I would carefully select who you choose to play with you. Make sure you have mature people who aren't going to throw a fit if their character gets gunned down accidentally.
Yeah, exactly. Or somebody's holding something against them, or if basically
Cold Shadows, there are no accidents.
Yeah, there's gonna be some sort of friction between group members, and that's the beauty of it. But in general, whether you're new to RPGs or not, if your group is not comfortable with that, maybe this isn't the style of game for you.
I would suggest you cut your teeth on Fiasco first.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Good idea.
And then come into actually, that's funny. I taught some friends how to play this. They never played this kind of game, and we played a round of Fiasco. And then I said, okay, now we're gonna play Cold Shadows. Yeah, perfect.
And
one of them had never played an RPG before, and they went right into it. And they're like, this makes sense. It's a natural extension.
That might even be a benefit because a lot of RPGs are so character based. In fact, I'd say most that I've played, if not all that I've played, that it might even be better for brand new players. It's basically, to you, Joshua, and if you have friends that know RPG or don't really know RPGs, but you're trying to get into them, the book will explain everything you need to know. In general, it may not hurt to understand how some other games work, but from what it sounds like, the game will give you everything you need, and maybe watch a few spy movies, get in the right mindset, and you won't have a problem at all.
Yeah. And there's actually a really good question that we missed, and I'm going to make James read it because there are a couple words in there that I want him to pronounce.
So Scott asks, are the rules for a Nemesis-type spy or organization like Carla from The Sandman and the 13th Director from the Le Carre novels?
That's an interesting question.
It's very precise, too. Are you a spy, Scott Harris?
No, first of all, maybe I'm wrong, but I think he got those backwards. I'm pretty sure Carla is Le Carre novels.
Oh,
I'm willing to commit to that. And sorry,
he said I'm willing to commit to that. I love that.
That's fair, but
sorry, Scott. If I could be wrong, and I'm willing to. If I'm wrong, you can email me at Alan@GallantNightGames and tell me I'm wrong, and I will apologize to you in email,
Personally.
and you can publish it online.
You can publish it online. Send links.
But
it didn't happen.
Pretty sure Carla is Le Carre. Anyway, yes, there are, but they're not different than the player character rules, because in great spy fiction, you're playing a mirror game. It's literally like staring into a mirror darkly. So there's not special rules to accommodate that.
Because they're just it's not necessarily futuristic or fantasy, or you're like, no, this is more or less in our world. So the tension and I think the beauty of it comes from you being so familiar with where it's set. So there aren't necessarily rules of like, well, these guys can teleport, so they're really bad.
Right. So yes, there are, but they're the same rules players have to use.
Exactly. So. No, that makes sense.
That's perfect. Let's see here.
Oh, so I said from The Sandman. I was gonna say I paraphrased. That might have been my fault. He just said Carla the Sandman, but I was assuming based on what he was saying, it was probably my lost in translation thing.
Oops.
Because he says Carla is known as the Sandman.
I thought we were referring to the Neil.
And that's my fault.
Novels, and I might have been like, I don't remember any spy stuff in those graphic novels, but I'm willing to concede.
So
that's our bad.
Scott, no, not our bad. I will bear that.
No, man. That's
on
what this is all about.
You made me read it, so.
I did. Yeah, see? Right there. You just lost the trust over
Well,
Jack.
Scott, thank you for bringing us all back on the same page.
Yeah,
you are,
Scott, you got it.
You are a scholar and a gentleman.
Because we didn't know what we were talking about. You can still email Alan, and he'll respond very quickly, because that's what he does, but I don't know. He's not going to apologize to you.
I want to answer Josh's question about how the game would play differently from like D&D 5e real fast.
Gotcha.
Sure.
Okay,
That's a great question.
I've got this up on my screen too, by the way, if you haven't noticed.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, no,
good.
sure.
I am thorough that way. It plays differently in the sense that a lot of D&D 5e games, and every group's different, so this might not be your group, but a lot of D&D 5e games are the player rolls and the dungeon master will tell them what happens. Make an athletics test. All right, I rolled a 15. Great. You are successfully able to leap over the fence and continue moving at full pace. That is a standard Dungeons & Dragons interpretation of action.
Yeah.
In Cold Shadows, if you succeed at the roll, the player who succeeded at the roll, the best or the highest, or just if they're unopposed, succeeded, gets to determine specifically the outcome of their action. Think of it as being able to say one true thing. I win the roll, I say one true thing about the outcome. I was able to successfully leap the fence and keep moving. Or I tripped and fell and I did not notice that the microfiche I was stealing fell out of my pocket and it was lying on the wet grass as I run away.
Oh, wow, yeah.
So the player gets to narrate that.
So say that happens. Let's push that a little bit.
Sure.
Keep that going. So that happens. Then it's someone else's turn, or the narrator then decides, okay, you keep running and then this happens. What would be sort of the next logical step sort of in that example there, just to wrap my head around?
Well, the next logical step is probably the player had some wagers remaining.
Okay, yeah.
And so then they would spend those wagers.
Because it was unopposed, they just get theirs.
Right. They might say, as I run away, I don't notice the pursuing Stasi police officer pick up the microfiche and take it back to headquarters.
Oh, nice.
And then when it does play like a normal RPG in the sense that outside of combat, there are no turn orders. You sort of rely on the narrator to kind of drive the story how he drives it. But it is pseudo improvisational on the narrator, is that he'll have to react to stuff the players say.
Exactly.
Which is why choice of group is so important. You need players who are going to buy into the story and who are going to be willing to give you interesting twists without compromising your ability to tell a cool story.
Exactly. And again, based sort of to go on things I was saying earlier, I think it won't be too difficult to do that because of some of the mechanics you have in place for what happens, between the wagers. You're saying, hey, you are able to decide this many things about the scene, or those mechanics, I think, will make it to some degree potentially easier, at least in my opinion, on the narrator, in this case, for the GM or DM in Dungeons and Dragons. It's a little bit more collaborative mechanically. Whereas in D&D, we play a very collaborative style anyway. This sort of gets everybody in because they have to. That's the rules. You have to say what happens. You can't just say, I roll, and then be silent and rely on the GM to tell you what happens,
And I'm really hoping we hit the 40,000 stretch goal, because the 5 adventure scenario we planned, you might go, how does an adventure work in this scenario? Yeah, that's funny because there's an answer to that. So I'll answer that question that I just asked. Look at that.
Look at that.
The adventures are more a collection of plots and insertions that create a cohesive narrative the GM can use when things happen.
Gotcha.
So they are a list of Adventure 1, here is the overarching goal of the adventure. Set this out for your players in their mission briefing. And then when appropriate, insert these 10 things. Here's some dialogue. Here's some locales. Here's some NPCs for you to use.
That's smart. So it's like scenes.
Here's a toolbox to create the scenes you need in any scene.
Exactly, because the players are going to say what happens, but like you said, you have those insertions, but they're all following the same theme of the main adventure. So like you said, you put them in where needed, and it makes sure that you remain on the same track without having to improvise every single thing because the player did who knows what.
Exactly.
I'm super happy about the tentative title for these adventures too. As part of the reason I really want to unlock them is I'm like really proud of the title, which currently I'm named And Then Along Came a Patriot.
Oh, that's cool.
And it sounds just like a spy movie to me. And I'm like, I need to make this.
That's awesome.
And in general, I am also excited, for you to hit that goal, because I feel like that style, I love doing this with stuff. I will be trying that out, if I'm able to get my hands on it, on, writing running a D&D session. I run a lot of 5th edition D&D with the same kind of idea, because it seems like a really cool outline without it being, just for Cold Shadows. It's like, well, no, in general, if you ran a style like this, you could transplant it to any other game system and just have a great narrative framework and run a game in the same style. I love doing stuff like that.
Exactly. Oh, we have a new question. Cool. Look at that.
Yeah, this is another good one, I think. And this, go ahead.
Does this get hard when you have a jerk in the group that sends the mission on a polar opposite path? I'm gonna, first of all, Nitty, I appreciate the pun you did in the actual question, because that's a really good segue between it's hard and jerk in the group. So well done, sir. Well done. I am not above childish jokes like that occasionally. But to answer your question, yes, it does. Don't play with that person.
Yeah, right. But I mean, that can be said about any game, basically.
Well, yes, that's true. But especially in Cold Shadows.
Yeah.
I would suggest if you have that person, they don't get to play. This is a game where if you give that person an opportunity to reach out and kind of F with you like that, they're going to. So just don't invite them to that group. I'm an advocate of play with people who you have fun with, and anybody who's not fun, don't let them back.
Yeah, sure.
Every time somebody joins my game, I tell them, you're on a probationary period. The probationary period lasts until I kick you out.
I see what you did there. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
But I have friends I played with for 15 years, so that doesn't happen.
Sure.
But there are people, I'm very clear that the goal of the group is to have fun. And if you are the one impeding the fun, you're the one who doesn't get to come back.
Exactly. But because the game, the style relies so much on keeping a very specific tone and feel.
Exactly.
It's important to, like you said, constantly make sure that you play with people that have that buy-in. Otherwise, you won't have the tone and feel, and it can fall flat. And it's not necessarily any fault of the system or the story or the narrator. It's like you have to be willing to play that part,
right,
in order for everyone to have fun.
And in a worst case scenario, the narrative power that they wield is equal to the game master.
Yeah, to the narrator.
So it's like he's saying, it's a little tougher with Cold Shadows because when it's their turn, they've got a handful of things that they can say that are facts.
Exactly.
So
right. So judicious,
a little more tricky.
Plot, with great power comes great responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
So that's definitely true. And I would recommend you carefully vet the people you play with on a level like that. So
yeah,
totally,
exactly. No, that makes sense.
Well, this has been great. Is there anything else you want to kind of close with? Anything that we missed, or anything that you feel like you're like, hey, I really want them to make sure that they know this before they go back?
Kickstarter, if you like what you heard, or even if you didn't like it, but you're willing to throw money at it, feel free.
Yeah, that's a fair.
Why not?
That's a fair statement.
Oh, Josh was asking more questions.
Let's see. We'll do one more.
Yeah,
we'll do one more.
If you have an answer,
folks are watching, and we got a ton of people watching, and they're interested.
I don't think a session 0 is necessary. Let me rephrase that. So I have a tradition in my groups instead of a session 0. What I do is I do character creation as a group, and then I outline the expectations I have as the GM.
Yeah.
And I say, here's what's going to happen from a standpoint. Rule 1, we don't talk about politics. Rule 2, anybody quotes Monty Python, they're out of the group forever. Rule 3,
is that really rule 2?
I play a lot of Pendragon, and after a while, the Holy Grail jokes get old.
Oh, okay.
That's fair.
But
you quote Monty Python. Oh, that's funny. Because I'm wearing, I don't know if you saw this, I'm wearing a Tim the Enchanter shirt.
I saw. Luckily, we're not playing a game right now, so that's okay.
I know.
Yeah, so it's okay.
I show up and I'm like, hey, and you're like, you're banned for life.
You banned
shirts and skins.
Just walk yourself home.
Just I'm gonna call my mom to pick me up.
So
so I wouldn't say session 0, but I think, and this would be my advice for any RPG, but I think it particularly applies here. Over communication in your expectations as the narrator and in the behavior you expect from the group on a social level is essential, because RPGs at their core are a social contract between a group of people who want to have fun. Exactly. And if you allow that to be violated, you failed.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Right. So that would be my recommendation.
Yeah, I've seen plenty of RPGs or one-shots or campaigns go a different way than people expected because there was no communication, not even a reasonable amount. Just like, oh, I really thought we were going to be doing this, or I thought we were going to be doing that. And again, for this particular game, it's a little more important, I think, because you really need to have that buy-in. Whereas you might be able to rope some people in a 5th edition campaign or one shot. This is like, no, from the moment we start, I mean, you got to be there. You got to be in, and you got to be ready for anything. Who knows what's going to happen?
For sure. So, that'd be my recommendation.
Yeah.
And it's harsh, and it sucks to be that guy, and I don't love it, but sometimes that's what you got to do. So
yeah, but it will, I think, especially again for this game, up the quality of the play if you try and avoid that situation as much as possible.
Yeah, and if I'm going to spend 3-4 hours on a game, I need a game master or narrator who's running it, who is willing to draw that line so that person's not wasting my afternoon or evening.
Exactly. It's like when I used to work private sector and wasn't a fancy full-time game designer. The rules I always told my employees were: rule number 1, don't be a jerk. Rule number 2, don't get fired. And if you follow those rules, everybody wins.
Exactly. No, that makes sense.
They apply here in a sense. So
yeah, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah,
well, this has been a blast. Be sure to back Cold Shadows. We're going to be playing it on this channel, maybe sooner than October.
I'm really excited
because we know a guy. But definitely after it comes out, I think another cool thing to do is like sometime in October, November, because that's when things especially wind down for the holidays and people tend to hop on and do some games. Any of you backers, let us know, and we would love to run something online. And now, make sure you're following the exact social contract we just described, because we don't want to have to embarrass you on a YouTube live play because you're trying to name the moon Dick Butt. So
I didn't know we could say those words. Great, good to know.
No, we really that's a running joke from
But-
another campaign, but we typically don't say but.
That said, yeah,
That covers the whole thing.
PG-13.
We
and
are.
We appreciate
hang on.
you.
Just to be clear, we don't say but we can say the other words.
Yes. No.
Oddly specific rules.
Yeah, no. It certainly it certainly gets adult occasionally, and so it's reasonable for you to stray away from it. And we were up until this point keeping with the same thing, so anybody could watch this, but I don't think it matters.
I ruined it.
Yeah, it ruined it. That's
Well,
okay.
to be fair, if you can't say a little dick butt in your spy RPG, then I guess what can you say?
Yeah,
I don't
exactly.
know.
You're like, wait.
I don't know where that's going. I feel really weird having said that.
Yeah.
Now.
I'm
I'll be out
running
there forever.
I'm running a Muppet Babies Cold Shadows game. If anybody's interested, this is a formal interest
A
post.
Muppet Babies Cold Shadows.
I'm there.
I'm in, baby.
I'm
I'm
I'll be Miss
Oh.
Piggy. I got this.
there.
Thank you all for tuning in. Thanks for the amazing questions. Thanks for backing this live. And if you're watching this after the fact, obviously the link is down below. Be sure to subscribe to our channel if you haven't yet. We don't typically plug Kickstarters often, but when we do, it's ones that we're going to back ourselves, and it's ones that we want you to back because we support them and we support Alan. And so we're looking forward to playing some good old-fashioned Cold Shadows here on the channel.
Good old-fashioned brand new Cold Shadow.
Good old-fashioned brand new Cold Shadows. So thank you again, Alan. It's been fantastic. And until next time, may your dice roll high.